It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today we're going to preview the 2020 edition of the New England Patriots. And before we get started, let's take a look at some of the key storylines for the Patriots heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. It's the end of an era in New England as Tom Brady has moved on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After 20 years in a Patriots uniform, he leaves his team all-time greatest quarterback in virtually every statistical category that there is, as well as AFC championships and Super Bowl titles. Brady was synonymous with the New England Patriots, and it will look awkward not seeing him under center. However, while it will be weird not seeing Tom Brady play for the Patriots, it will be equally as weird not seeing Cam Newton play for the Carolina Panthers. But it should be exciting to see him play quarterback for New England. Those with common football sense knew that the Patriots wasn't going to go into the 2020 season with only Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer as their quarterback options, regardless of how much they liked them. The thought was even absurd considering the fact that Cam Newton was still sitting out there as a free agent. I think everyone had a sense that this was going to happen. Newton was a former NFL MVP and helped usher in a new era of quarterbacking with his abilities to be a consistent dual-threat player each and every game. Prior to his shoulder injury in 2018, Newton was playing MVP level ball once again, and the hope is that he's able to recapture that level of play here in Foxborough. New England is getting a motivated, healthy Cam Newton who has something to prove, and it should make for an exciting season in Foxborough. Another departure the Patriots will be dealing with in 2020 is longtime assistant coach and offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia, who retired this offseason after spending 17 seasons with New England, 19 years total in the NFL. A 5-time Super Bowl champion himself, Scarnecchia is widely regarded as one of the best offensive line coaches in the game. He initially retired after the 2013 season, only to return in 2016 to take over the same role once again. Now, his departure does put a lot of pressure on new offensive line coach Carmen Bricillo to help maintain the status quo of this unit. And while that may be an insane ask, Coach Bricillo, who was a stellar offensive lineman himself at Duquesne, figures to be up to that challenge. To say that there has been a mass exodus on defense for the New England Patriots would be overstating it and maybe a bit hyperbole, but they did lose some key contributors this offseason. However, they were able to bring in some quality players to help ease the sting just a little bit. Bo Allen was, to me, the biggest of all the defensive acquisitions, figuratively and literally, as he will replace Danny Shelton at the nose. Adrian Phillips figures to provide good depth at safety, in addition to strengthening the special teams units. So does linebacker Brandon Copeland, who comes over from the New York Jets. He also figures to compete for time at one of the open linebacker spots. We all know that Bill Belichick will make the necessary adjustments with new additions. What those will be is what we will be watching throughout training camp. Having Cam Newton as your starting quarterback makes it an 11-on-11 game. He gives Bill Belichick that +1 player on offense that he has had issues in defending throughout his tenure. Where I think people aren't giving Cam Newton enough credit is how good he is in the passing game. He's able to work all levels of the field, and now with the creative offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels, he should continue to elevate his game and subsequently the game of those around him. Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer can compete for the QB2 role on the roster. The hope is that Stidham can clearly prove that he's the guy, because Newton is only on a 1-year deal, and if the team feels as though there's nothing there for them to sign him long term, then there still could be an opportunity for Stidham to be their long-term answer. So he has to get out there and perform and prove that he should be in their future plans. What the Patriots have done really well in the backfield is stock it with players who all have similar talents. It's what makes their run game so dynamic, as Sony Michel, James White, and Rex Burkhead are all backs with solid short area quickness and the ability to be legitimate threats in the passing game. Michel dealt with nagging injuries last season and just didn't seem right in my opinion. However, he still finished with over 900 yards rushing, leading the team in that category. Gone were the chunk plays that he had as a rookie, and the hope is that if he's healthy, then those will return. They get more than enough out of White and Burkhead, as both guys really do a great job of performing when their number is called, and I'm interested to see how second-year player Damian Harris fits into the mix this season. He was drafted last year in the 3rd round and only played in 2 games. He has that same level of burst as Burkhead and is a good receiving option in his own right. With the retirement of fullback James Devlin, the Patriots signed Dan Vitale, who is a more versatile option at the position and gives them a different dynamic at fullback. And the overall versatility of this backfield, when combining with the run threat of Cam Newton, big things should be in store for 2020. Health was a major factor in why the Patriots receiving corps wasn't at its best last season. At one point, this was a team that had Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown on the roster, but neither made it to the midway point of the season. And Julian Edelman was able to scratch and claw his way to a 100-catch, 1,000-yard season, battling nagging injuries throughout the year. His return to full health will be huge for this offense as they're breaking in a new quarterback. So will the health of N'Keal Harry, who figures to play a more prominent role in year 2. He never really got off the ground as a rookie because of an injury suffered during training camp, which hindered his progress. Now, at full strength, the former Arizona State Sun Devil looks to quickly become one of the primary targets for Cam Newton. Mohamed Sanu, to me, is a pro's pro. He's as solid and as dependable as they come and could get back to his consistently productive ways this season after a full year within that Patriots organization and within that offense. New England still has high hopes for second-year player Jacoby Myers out of North Carolina State, who outplayed Harry as a rookie, earning himself some valuable minutes earlier in the season. He'll have to battle it out with a couple of free agent signees and some undrafted free agents for that 4th receiver spot. One player of intrigue to keep an eye on is former Jacksonville Jaguar Marquise Lee, who is coming off of back-to-back seasons with injuries. The tight end position was one where they had a lot of questions coming into the last season as Rob Gronkowski retired, and throughout the season as the lack of overall production just wasn't there. Matt LaCosse started some games for them last year despite dealing with some nagging injuries, which is why the Patriots doubled down on this position in the NFL draft with the selections of Devin Asiasi out of UCLA and Dalton Keene out of Virginia Tech. Asiasi was my #1 inline tight end prospect in the draft class. He combines strong blocking with the ability to get open downfield and showing good run after the catch skills as well. And Keene reminds me a lot of former Miami Dolphins H-back Jim Jensen. He's the type of guy you want on the field at all times. He's your quintessential H-back, a player that can carry the football if need be, block very well, and also catch passes deeper down the field and short and shallow as well. New England hopes to recreate the same dynamic they had at the position when they had Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez on the field at the same time. We talked about new offensive line coach Carmen Bricillo earlier and what the task at hand is for him this season. I guess the first order of business is to get 10-year vet Marcus Cannon back on the right track and playing his best ball. Inconsistency started to creep into his game last year, but the longtime vet is eager to prove that last year was an aberration and not a sign of significant decline. Third-year pro Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia will be looked upon this year to take a major step forward in his game. He was only able to play the last 8 games of the season after returning from an injury, and the hope is that he can stay healthy and build on what we saw last year. And I'd be interested to see what second-year player Yodny Kajus can do this upcoming training camp. I like this tape coming out of West Virginia, and he has the ability to play either tackle spot. He ended up on IR his entire rookie season and gets a chance to start anew this upcoming summer. On the interior, the Patriots are in much better shape as center David Andrews returns after missing all of last year, dealing with blood clots within his lungs. He gives them a rock-solid player on the inside. Shaq Mason and Joe Thuney continue to be excellent guards, and they figure to play an even bigger role in the run game this year with Cam Newton out in the fold. And looking to strengthen the depth up front, the Patriots added offensive tackle Justin Herron out of Wake Forest, guard Michael Onwenu out of Michigan, and center Dustin Woodard out of Memphis in the NFL draft. All 3 guys are very talented, and we'll get to see Coach Bricillo, how he coaches, but also how he develops players, getting them to be the next wave of potential starters up front. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, and the Patriots were #1 in total defense last season, and a lot of it had to do with how well they played up front along the defensive line. They do a great job of maintaining and resetting the line of scrimmage while also getting pressure on the quarterback. Now, the key acquisition here was Bo Allen, who comes over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he will help them continue to anchor better on the interior. Lawrence Guy gives them steady play as well, coming off of a 61 tackle season, and the depth here with Adam Butler and Byron Coward looks to be solid, and I'm excited to see what Butler can do after breaking out last season. Look for Chase Winovich to take a big step forward this upcoming season. Coming off the edge, he plays with his hair on fire and figures to land a starting role at one of the defensive end spots, pairing up with the veteran John Simon, who plays the run really well. Dietrich Wise continues to be their pass rush specialist, and New England still has high hopes for Derek Rivers, who they drafted a few years ago but hasn't quite made the significant dent because of the injuries. At linebacker, the Patriots lose Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy, and Elandon Roberts, but they still have Pro Bowler Dont'a Hightower manning the middle of their defense. Hightower is one of the best backers in the game. Last season, he finished with 71 tackles and 5.5 sacks. Now, the expectation is for Juwan Bentley, who started 2 games last year, to play an even bigger role and make an even bigger impact this season. If he can't, then it will be up to rookies Josh Uche out of Michigan and Anthony Jennings out of Alabama. Now, Uche can play all 3 backer spots, even showing the ability to rush the passer as well as cover. He showed that down at the recent Senior Bowl, while Jennings is a heavy-handed edge setter that shows upside as a pass rusher. So it will be interesting to see how quickly they get up to speed and how much of an impact they can make as rookies, because this unit will definitely need it. Now, the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills can go toe-to-toe for the best secondary in a division title or crown. Starting on the corners, this is a group that can play man, both press and off coverage, as well as they can do excelling in zone coverage. Jason McCourty, Stephon Gilmore, slot corner Jonathan Jones, and corner J.C. Jackson combined for 44 pass breakups and 12 of the 25 interceptions they had on a team that led the league in that category. Now, this team wants to see growth from second-year player Jawan Williams, who has to find a way to crack this depth chart. At safety, they're equally as stout, with Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung. Both are versatile, having the ability to move around the defense, but they're getting up there in age, entering their 11th and 13th season in the NFL, respectively. That's why the Patriots made the selection of Kyle Dugger in the 2nd round of the NFL draft. Dugger is cut from the same cloth as those other 2 guys, having the ability to play multiple spots in the secondary, bringing great athleticism and ball skills to the table. He, along with Terrence Brooks and free agent signing Adrian Phillips, gives New England excellent depth on the back end at safety. The biggest offensive rookie impact to me is tight end Devin Asiasi out of UCLA. Tight end has been a sore spot for the Patriots whenever Gronk is out of the lineup, and they double down on that position. And I think when you look at Devin Asiasi, he's a catch and run guy, a guy that does a great job with the football in his hands and should be one of the favorite targets of new quarterback Cam Newton. Defensively, the rookie will be Kyle Dugger. You talk about a guy that can play multiple positions. We know Bill Belichick loves that versatility, but what I like about him is that he also thrives on special teams, so he'll start there, work himself into the regular defense, and he is the type of player that always seems to find the football. I think he's going to have a breakout or a standout rookie season. Look for quarterback Jamar Smith from Louisiana Tech to be a camp surprise on the offensive side of the football. All of the focus, justifiably so, will be on Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham and company, but when you look at how effective and efficient he is in the intermediate area of the field, in conjunction with his athleticism and how well he can throw on the move, he's going to be a player that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows come training camp. As will Bill Murray, the defensive tackle, undrafted rookie free agent from William & Mary. This is a player that can play multiple spots along the defensive line. We already spoke about how Bill Belichick loves versatility, but when you look at what else Murray brings to the table, he's a stellar special teamer as far as blocking kicks are concerned. So not only can he help you out from a versatility standpoint and athleticism standpoint up front, but also can be a core special teamer. I look for Josh McDaniels to be the biggest X factor for this Patriots offense. You talk about a coach that has done a great job in tailoring his offense around the players that he has. He's been there 17 years with the Patriots, and now he gets himself a former MVP, a guy with unique talents like Cam Newton. So how he is able to construct this offense could help determine how well the Patriots do on that side of the ball this upcoming season. Defensively, I look at Dante Hightower, the linebacker, being the biggest X factor. You talk about a position that has seen a lot of turnover for the Patriots this offseason. It's the linebacking core. So they're going to need Dante Hightower to not only play great like he has done in his career, but also be a leader and get everybody else up to speed. If he's able to do that, this defense should be just fine. N'Keal Harry would be my choice for an offensive breakout player going into his second season. That's when you start to see those receivers make that big jump in productivity. But for him, it's going to be about being healthy. He's going to be healthy going into training camp, which should help him hit the ground running with the new quarterback in Cam Newton, building that camaraderie, that chemistry. I do think that's going to carry over into the regular season. Defensively, Chase Winovich, I think, is primed for a breakout year. Every time he played last season, he made a splash play. I think you're going to see those splash plays be a little bit more consistent this year, which should make him the breakout player on the defensive side of the ball. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website, ninethandlux.com, and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW and his latest release, Mr. Hunter. You can find him on Spotify. Just search IW Mr. Hunter. He's also available on iTunes as well, and follow on Instagram at Do You Music. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website, grinditoutfitness.com, and download the app. The Academy of Broadcast Media, located in Hackensack, New Jersey. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGo Offense. One of the major reasons for optimism for the Patriots is the fact that Bill Belichick is still the head coach of that football team. He's entering his 21st season as the head coach up there in Foxborough. You talk about a coach that has compiled 237 wins to only 83 losses, played in 41 playoff games, won 30 of those, and 6 Super Bowl championships. So yes, no matter what the roster looks like, this guy will always give the Patriots a chance to win. And despite the losses that we saw on defense during the offseason, they're still a really good defense. You can work back to front with this group. You talk about a secondary that's one of the best, arguably, in the NFL, a defensive line that's versatile, and they still can find ways to be disruptive versus the run and also get after the quarterback. And we know how Bill Belichick is able to win with scheme. So no matter who he has at linebacker, the moving parts, as long as the scheme is consistent, he's able to coach around what they do well and where they may be vulnerable, their defense will still be pretty good this season. I also feel like you can be optimistic about the running game in New England. I think it's going to prosper because you have talent in the backfield. We talk about Sony Michel, James White, Rex Burkhead, Damian Harris, all those guys that they have at their disposal. But when you add that talent with a mobile quarterback, we know mobile quarterbacks tend to boost your run game. So when you're able to run the football like the Patriots should be able to do this year, you can understand why there's still a lot of optimism coming out of Foxborough. A cause for concern would be if the receiving core has another season like it did in 2019. They just couldn't get right with Tom Brady, and now within this COVID-19 era that we're living in, if they can't gel properly with Cam Newton and they get off to a slow start to the season, it could be more of what we saw last year for the passing game in New England, regardless of the quarterback. Another cause for concern would be if the offensive line struggles. We know that's the linchpin of what the Patriots offense is usually built upon, their offensive line being good. Now last year, we knew they had their struggles. A lot of it was due to the fact that they had some injuries, so they weren't able to find that consistency throughout the course of the season. And now you add the fact that Dante Scarnecchia has retired. So there's a slight question mark heading into the season. If this offensive line still isn't able to get it together, then this could be a problem for the Patriots throughout the course of 2020. The road to the Super Bowl for the Patriots goes as follows. Number one, their defense has to stay in the top 5. Despite all of the changes, like I said before, this is still a defense that has a lot of good parts to it. And if they're able to stay within the top 5 like they were last year, they'll be just fine. And if Cam Newton reverses his early 2018 form where he was steamrolling toward what looked to be another MVP type season. If he can play like he did when he was healthy, this offense really should take flight, and the run game takes the forefront. I think that should happen this year. That's one thing that I am predicting, that this running game will be amongst the best in the league because of the addition of Cam Newton and what he does to the run game. The personnel is there. I think Cam Newton helps them in that aspect. So if they're able to do these three things, they should find themselves in Tampa Bay later on in the season. I have the Patriots finishing second in the AFC East. If they didn't sign Cam Newton, they would have finished fourth, because that's just too big of a mountain to overcome when you're talking about going from Tom Brady to Jarrett Stidham. But having Cam Newton there, to me, stabilizes that offense. And defensively, despite all of those new pieces at the second level, they'll be just fine. We know Bill Belichick is one of the best scheme coaches in the game and does a great job in putting his players in position to win. So I do see them making the playoffs once again this upcoming season. So that's it for this edition of NFL All 32. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast. Now, I would keep it locked here on the Football Game Plan YouTube channel, as we have a ton of Patriot-related videos coming down the pipe, from our starting lineup, which breaks down their fantasy football options, our best bets, which we will take a look at some of the top prop bets for the Patriots heading into the season, as well as our All 22 show, where we go inside the film room and break down the Patriots more in depth.
You tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.